Hello everybody and welcome to day 2 of my 10-day 2025 series. Today's focus is going to be our hip mobility and our hip flexibility. So if you haven't already, go grab a comfortable position, get in your environment where you're going to be doing your series, and get ready to start for day 2. And we're going to start by just gently getting our sits bones to touch our mat, to touch the floor. And you don't have to get into my specific position, but just finding a position that feels best for you, whether it's laying down, sitting up, sitting on a wall, and gently close your eyes as we begin our practice for today. Draw your navel in nice and tight towards your spine, lifting up in your head and your neck, relaxing down in your shoulders, lift them up, and relaxing down your back, squeezing in that rib cage, and taking a couple deep breaths in and out, and in and out. Bring your hands gently to heart center and just setting your intention for day 2 today as we focus in on our hips today. Thinking about what you want to accomplish and what your hip mobility goals are. Drawing your attention to possibly any pain or tightness, soreness, maybe you're recovering from an injury. Just drawing our attention and our mindfulness to our hips, to our pelvis, and to all the areas encompassing and surrounding our hips, such as our glute muscles, our low back, and continuing to breathe nice and deep. Breathe in and breathe out, deepest breath yet. Drop those hands, and gently when you're ready, open your eyes. We can start our practice for today. All right, everybody, so staying in this seated position, or make your way into this position if you started your practice in another position, you're gonna grab onto or make your yoga blocks available to you if they aren't already. And we're just gonna start by gently stretching our hips out in this position here. Now, this is a stretch that my grandmother Millie lived by, you guys. So our hips are one of the first parts of our body that can start to get tight as we age. So that being said, that is our focus for today and for this stretch specifically. She did it every day. So all it is a gentle, you're in this crisscross applesauce position. You are not in a butterfly position, but you're crisscrossed. For me, my left leg is in front now. Get whichever leg in front that feels most comfortable for you to start. And from here, all we're gonna do is just walk our hands in front of us. But before we do that, we wanna try to make sure our knees are as close to the ground as possible. So the goal with this is your knees should be touching the ground. That is the goal. So maybe you start by closing your eyes gently and bring your hands behind your body and just connecting and trying to press your knees as close to the mat as possible. And from here, once you have them as far as they can go, that's when you'll add your forward fold. So slowly, gently walk your hands in front of you. Keep those knees as close to the ground as you can. As you walk forward, your knees will have a tendency to start to come up off of the ground. Gently drop your head and try to walk your hands out as far as you can, as if you're reaching for something in front of you. And with this stretch, you guys, you should feel it a little bit behind your glutes and behind your thighs a little. So it should be there. It should also be the front part of your hips. But the goal is you should majority feel this stretch on the side in whichever leg is in front. So for me, my left leg is in front. So I should hopefully feel the stretch a little bit more on my left side. You may feel it on both sides, and that is completely fine if you do. And of course, with all stretches, you guys making sure to take nice deep breaths, never holding our breath for any stretches. And from here, gently walk your hands up. Now we're gonna take a variation of this stretch. So we're gonna walk our hands to the right side. Same thing with this, as our hands come to the right, I'm focusing on keeping my hips on the ground. Your hip will have a tendency to come up. Just do your best to keep it glued to the mat. Open up that hip. Maybe you even add your hand to press onto your knee if needed. And for this side stretch, you can also add your yoga block in as well for extra comfort and for modification as well. Walk to your elbows. Nice deep breaths. And walk the hands up. Same thing on your other side. Encourage you to use a block on both sides. If you did, use it on one. Same thing on this side. Walk your hands out. Keep that hip and knee glued to the mat if possible. Nice and deep with your breathing. And walk your hands up, nice and gentle. All right, shake it out. So from here, we're gonna speed up this motion and make it one. So keeping the same leg in front, whichever one you started with, we're gonna start by bringing our hands out in front and we're just gonna circle them around. So we're gonna go from right, keep that hip glued to the ground. Feel that stretch as you lean forward, also going through the side of your upper back. And slowly bring your hands in front and bring them out to the left and walk them up. Good, let's do it a second time. Walk your hands out in front of you and walk them to the front all the way to the opposite side and come up. Good, one last time, speeding it up this time, right. Hands come to the front and left and come up. Good. Now from here, we're just gonna switch legs. So same exact stretch, opposite foot will come in front. So this time I'm technically going to be focusing on my right hip, my right outer hip, okay? But remember, for this stretch, you probably will feel it on both sides for each leg, okay? So same thing here, hands behind your back, closing your eyes, try to focus on getting your knees to touch the ground. Open up those hips. And open your eyes. Always an option to stay here too if that's what your hips are needing on this specific day, okay? This is just an option to amplify. Is our forward lean. So from here, hands walk in front, drop my head, and we hold. Also, you guys notice which side is tighter than the other. We always have, a good and a quote bad side. There's no such thing as bad, but we always have that one side that's a little bit more flexible than the other. And with our hips, we want to even that out as much as possible. So I always suggest holding a little bit longer in your stretches on the side that feels tightest. And from here, walk your hands up. Now we have our circle, so same thing on this side. We'll start by walking your hands to the right. Option to add your block. Walk your hands to the right and hold. I'm gonna add my elbow to press down on my knee because I feel it popping up, which I don't want. And walk your hands up. Same thing on the other side. Opposite side, walk the hands down. Drop, keep that knee close to the ground. up. Same thing. We're going to add and make this into one long motion. So starting on your right side, slowly walk your hands in front, keep those hips on the ground. If you're not able to fully, like for me, I'm not able to get my entire chest on the ground, try not to round your back too much, you guys. So your hands are in front, my chest is still kind of on this gaze in front of me, and I'm looking, well, you can look down, but just not rounding your back too much. Okay, so think about lengthening in your chest. Imagine you want to try to get your chest here to touch your knee or to touch your yoga mat. So lengthening out in front as you drop down. Same thing here, my chest is out, so I'm not making a super rounded motion with my back. Always gotta be conscientious of our body, right? And walk the hands up, same thing, speed it up 2 more times, to the right, and center, and left, and up. Good, last time, even quicker, to the right, and center. Keep on breathing, you guys, nice and deep. And left, and up. Good, shake it out. Hopefully our hips feel a little bit more open now. You may need to shake out your knees a little bit if they need to have some movement for a second. And we're gonna move on to our next stretch for our hip mobility. All right, next stretch, we're going to bring our feet about shoulder width distance apart, right where they are here. And I'm gonna, same thing, have my hands behind my back. I'm just gonna gently windshield wiper my knees. So my knees should move at the same pace. They're gonna move to the right. The goal here is to try to get your knees to hit the ground. And they come up, and they come to the left, and they come up. Okay, so we have rotations. These are called 90-90 rotations, you guys. These are for not just our inner hips, but also the outer part of our hips, so our ball and socket joint. Remember learning about that in school, in anatomy when I was younger. Never knew I would be here teaching about it years later. But yeah, so this is for our hips. I would say this is a pretty beginner move. So if you ever need to return to anything to give your hips a break, you guys, come back to this stretch right here, okay? Good, now from here, we're gonna take an amplification of the same stretch variation. So hands behind our back, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna drop our knees to the right, okay? Now this time, we're gonna try to remove our hands, okay? So remove your hands, see how well you can use your hips and your control to twist your knees. As your knees twist, you want to actually twist your upper body with it for this specific stretch, okay? So they twist all the way. My entire body, my chest is facing to the right, and back to the center, and to the left. You'll kind of feel yourself traveling forward on your mat, so you might need to back up for this stretch. Lean, and lean. Good, now if you've done that successfully, one more challenge to offer you guys. So from here, another way to amplify this stretch is after we twist to the side, you guys, using your core muscles, okay, this is more of your hip strength and also using your core strength. Another one of my grandmother's favorite exercises right here was using your core to actually lift your body up, okay? So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep my hands off of my yoga mat. Twist from here, I'm gonna do the same thing. Squeezing in my core, lifting up in my chest, squeezing in my rib cage. I lift up and I come down. Okay, so with the goal with that, you guys, is to use, like I said, your hip strength. And as you come down, you wanna come down as controlled as possible. Try not to flop down onto your yoga mat. Okay, that's gonna hurt your knees, and I do not want that. So this exercise is for your hip mobility, but also for your core and a little bit of your control as well. Okay, perfect. I hope you guys would give that a try. Now from here, we're gonna drop our knees back to the right. Okay, we're gonna twist our body back to the right. Hands come in front of you, and this becomes more of a stagnant stretch. So from here, Another option to use your yoga block right now, walk your hands in front of you, and you're just gonna drop your head. This should stretch out your hip, but also a little bit of that glute muscle, similar to the stretch that we started with today. But we're just gonna take a gentle hold here. If you're able to walk your hands out comfortably, remove your yoga block and walk them out as straight as possible to a little bit of a right angle. So about 45 degrees to the right side. That should really give you a stretch in your right hip. Deep breaths in and out as we hold this stretch. Good, and hands come up. And same thing on our other side. To the left, grab my yoga block. Hands are in front. And from here, walk your elbows down. And if possible, hands come all the way in front. And this time, you're gonna walk them to the left ankle, okay? So 45 degrees to the left if you're able to get your hands out that far in front of you. And back to the center, and coming up. Okay, good. Same thing, shake out your knees, your hips if you need to. Next stretch is butterfly. Okay, so now bringing the soles of our feet together, we're gonna gently flap our knees and drop them side to side. Start by also doing a side to side rock. This is going to be a nice and gentle way to open up your hips instead of going straight for the punch, right? Gently opening them up, rocking them side to side, warming up our hips. And thinking back to the same thing I taught us at the beginning of today is lifting up, squeezing in that core, and drop them down. Now allow both of your knees to flap. Take a nice smile, maybe close your eyes for a second, thinking back to our intention for today as we are in the midst of our hip stretches. All right, now from here, option here to either hold in this position, okay, so you can hold here. You can also, same thing with the first stretch, press on your own knees with your elbows, so pressing them down this way, or an amplification. Okay, same thing as we did before, walking our hands in front, and just a gentle dropping of the head. Now for this stretch, you guys, in your butterfly as you hold here, breathe of course, but I always suggest for this stretch that if you do live with somebody or have a partner, I love suggesting that you do this with a partner because you can get so much further in the stretch. So when I do my in-person classes, I love to come around and give people an extra stretch. So this is an example of a position that you're able to get a lot more of a benefit from when you do have somebody either behind you pressing your knees and you're able to focus on actually getting the stretch in versus trying to do all of the work for yourself, okay? So from here, coming up, that was nice. And we're just gonna lean side to side. So taking our butterfly position here, with your right hand, grab onto your toes, or you can grab onto your ankle and just gently leaning to the side, shoulders down. Keep that top arm nice and straight. Flowing to the right. And coming up. And flowing to the left. And coming up. Good. And shake out your knees. We're going to come into a deep center lunge now, okay? Getting into the deeper parts of our hips. So use your weight to come up onto your mat. And from here, you're gonna turn your toes out to about a 45-degree angle to the side. Okay, we're gonna start with a gentle center squat. So bend your knees. You want your knees to face out to the side. And from here, you're going to press on your knees out to the side as much as you can, okay? Keeping them out nice and wide. Maybe you hold here. If you need to modify, you may just come up and hold in this position. And maybe even take your hands to the center to make it more of a strengthening move where you're using your hip muscles here, okay? I'm gonna take it down into a deeper hip stretch here. And from here, just twisting your body to the right and to the left. So moving at your own pace for this one. Nice and slow, nice and gentle. And coming up. And from here, we take spider. So walk your feet out a little bit further to the edges of the mat. And we're gonna take deeper hip stretches. So bend your knee to the right and bend your knee to the left. Okay. Try to allow your knee to come over your ankle, but keeping your heel fully on the ground. Don't let your heel creep up and lift up. That is not the goal, okay? So we want to keep it down. And gently from here, everybody just making your way down to your mat into this deeper stretch, okay? As you come down onto your mat, it's going to be more difficult to keep your heel on the ground, so keep it there. If your body allows, try to drop your pelvis as far down to the mat as possible until you feel that hip or that heel coming up. Beautiful. I'm sure you guys are doing a great job. Keep going. We're almost done. Hopefully your hips are already feeling nice and stretched out. Okay, and from here, bring your hands to the center. Maybe walk your feet in just a little bit back to the same position which we used for our center squat. And from here, just an option to take your deep squat if your hips allow. Okay, I invite you to come into this position, dropping your tailbone. Oops, my heel came up there. But just holding right here. Nice deep breaths, and maybe even bring your hands into heart center to amplify even more. Good. And from here, bring your hands down onto your yoga mat. We're gonna lift our body up and down. So just nice and gentle. You can make this as big of a movement as possible. The bigger the movement, the more of a stretch you get for your hips. The smaller the movement, the easier it will be. And drop into your comfortable position. And we're going to twist our body to the right and down and to the left and down and right and down and left and down. Last one, right and down and left and down. Good to come out of this stretch. Pull your body up, squeeze those hips, and just gently coming back onto the ground nice and gently as we finish off our hip stretches. Woo, hopefully they're feeling, like I said, nice and mobile. Hopefully you feel like you're invincible now. You can do anything after today's hip stretch. And from here, just gently coming onto your yoga mat, dropping your head, bringing your palms into your body, and finishing off where we started today's session. Connecting to your breath, connecting to your body, connecting specifically to our hips and how they're feeling after today's amazing stretch. And thinking back now to our intention that we set at the beginning today. Thinking about whether we surpassed, whether we met our intention for our hips. And gently bring your body to a seated position. All right, thank you guys so much for joining today. I hope you enjoyed